Timberwolves fans. Are you ready for the explosion of Timberwolves basketball? Here on Timberwolves Explosion, episode number 36. Today is Friday, October the 23rd, 2009, and we are going to have our preseason wrap-up show today. We'll wrap up the preseason. We're going to have episode number 37 should be released early next week. We will talk about, it'll be a season preview of the Northwest Division for the Minnesota Timberwolves. So that will be the deal there. First and foremost, today, Timberwolves Explosion is available on thesportstuff.com and on iTunes. Thank you always for downloading and listening to this show. It is fantastic to have you on board. Also, though, we would like you to become a member on thesportstuff.com. There's a button on the right-hand side that says TSS Boards. It's the front page of the website. Click on that. And there's a referral bar. Type in Paladino Live. It's two separate words. The Paladino is Paladino Live. And, two separate words, Paladino and Live, that is. Also, there is a phone line for thesportstuff.com. It is 209-736-7877, 209-736-7877. So that is a voicemail line. Treat it as such. Mention which show you are calling into, which is, of course, Timberwolves Explosion. Make your shout-out, your comment, question, whatever it is. You'll be more than welcome. And keep it to about a minute or so. That would be terrific. Also, one other topic today. Well, Love hurts. Yep. Kevin Love, of course, breaking his non-shooting hand, breaking a bone in his non-shooting hand. Very, very unfortunate turn of events for our Timberwolves. He is out 6 to 8 weeks as of about a week ago, so now it's 5 to 7 weeks, I guess. He had successful surgery. That's pretty much the main key there. So, like they always like to say, successful surgery, so that's good stuff. Other than that, well, that's going to be the gist of the show today. So with no further ado, we'll take our first break and be back right after this. Here on thesportstuff.com, join the family with Purple Mafia. With Brett Favre now in the mix with Adrian Peterson, the best running back there is, along with the new Purple People Eaters, the Viking ship is on course for something great. We're available on thesportstuff.com and on iTunes. We'll bring you the most honest and passionate Viking show there is. And we are back here on Timberwolves Explosion, episode number 36, which is a reminder for iPod users along with other MP3 players. Thank you always for that, for downloading and joining in the explosion. Well, there are several preseason games to review. I'm going to kind of skim through them, so it's not too long of a show, as that's kind of one of the things. Can't make this show over about 30 minutes, at least that's the way things stand at this point in time. And we're going to get into Kevin Love in a second. Kevin Love and Al Jefferson is also Al Jefferson with a little bit of, there's a little scare with Al Jefferson, so we'll get into that also in segment number 3. So, first and foremost, Friday the 16th, that was the official day of Kevin Love's unfortunate injury in Chicago, Friday the 16th. We'll get to that now right here. The Timberwolves lose 94-90, so it's a fairly competitive game for the Timberwolves, and this is right about when Corey Brewer begins to emerge as really a legitimate scorer for the Timberwolves. He actually led the team in scoring in the preseason. How about that? Who would have thunk it? A guy that's averaging about 5.9 points a game through the first, 95 games of his career. He is averaging about 15 points a game right now, or about 16 in the officially for the preseason. Averaged about 16 points a game, not bad at all. Johnny Flynn with 8 assists, 10 points in this particular game. Corey Brewer with 20 here. Al Jefferson, though, this is also the game before his injury started to kind of creep up. Unfortunately, right here, though, Al Jefferson played a full 34 minutes. 10 points, 16 rebounds. The team did not shoot well at all. It's amazing they were as close as they were in this game. They shot 34%, but it's the three-point shot that kind of kept the Wolves in this one. Corey Brewer was 2 of 6. Johnny Flynn made his only 3. Al Jefferson made a three-pointer in this game. How about that? That's pretty weird. Sasha Pavlovich, 1 of 3. And Pecherov, the guy that I kind of ripped the previous night, 2 nights before. It was Wednesday, the 14th of October. I ripped Alexei Pecherov for very poor shooting, looking lost. 16 points, 5 rebounds, 2 of 6 from three-point range, 7 of 13 overall. A very solid game for Pecherov, who, of course, needed to replace Kevin Love, unfortunately. Another thing that was somewhat disappointing here for a lot of Wolves fans, a lot of fans that, hey, were hoping Wayne Ellington, looking really raw here. Only 1 of 10, as I've pretty much been thinking that most of the preseason here. Just looking raw, hoping this guy has more to offer later on. 1 of 10 for Wayne Ellington. That hurts. Also, one other thing. Damian Wilkins started at small forward in this particular game, as Coach Ramos was experimenting with the lineups a little bit. Little did he know he was going to be keeping Damian Wilkins in the starting lineup for a while here, with Kevin Love being out, unfortunately. About 20 minutes for Damian Wilkins. Not much going on. Only shot the ball twice, had 3 points. 4 rebounds also, but still, not so great there. Not so great at all. But overall, the story of this game was not Damian Wilkins. It was not Al Jefferson or Wayne Ellington. It was Kevin Love, and it's quite unfortunate, as when he was going for a rebound, bumped his hand on Alexei Pecherov's elbow, and it's just one of those things. It's a freak accident. I mean, I've been hit in the face with an elbow accidentally. It was a teammate, bumped into him, hurt like hell. Luckily, nothing broke or anything. I got bumped my nose. That hurt for quite a while, but it was, all is right in the end. Unfortunately, though, for Kevin Love, yes, 6 to 8 weeks at the time, 5 to 7 now, and only 2 weeks away from the season opener. So we're looking at early December for a return for Kevin Love, and that's just a big bummer. A lot of people were thinking maybe this team had a shot of winning, maybe 30 games this year, maybe right about 30. I was thinking about 28. I'm still going to actually stick around there because I don't know. There's something about this team. I think they're going to be moving in the right direction, and when Kevin Love comes back, it'll be looking pretty good. But I'll get more into that in episode number 37 when it's more of a season preview bit. So that is the deal right there. I will get more into Kevin Love later on. They kind of got a little bit too into him with this game. Now we move on. Let's move on, shall we? Yes. As a back-to-back, a really pretty ugly game. Ramon Sessions heading to Milwaukee. Second time he's played against the Milwaukee Bucks, this time in Milwaukee. Saturday, the 17th of October. Timberwolves lose 101 to 87. Just not a great game, really. Johnny Flynn, though, with another very solid game. I mean, this guy, you can just see it coming. You can just see this guy emerging as a legitimate point guard of the future for the Wolves. Brian Cardinal. Look at this. How about this front line? Brian Cardinal and Damian Wilkins played in this game. Al Jefferson. This is about when, the Achilles started to pick up for Mr. Al Jefferson. We'll get deeper into that in the episode, segment number 3. I'm a little bit loopy. I don't know why. Probably too much basketball on the head right now. A little too much. Yep, I mean, I could probably go on for about 3 hours here, but I can't. So I'm trying to get it all crammed into one episode, at least the preseason part of it. Al Jefferson only 2 of 7 from the floor. His field goal percentage has not been so hot, and the team's field goal percentage struggling again here, about 38.5%. Oh, goody. But Johnny Flynn was 7 of 14, including 2 of 3 from three-point range. 19.5 assist performance for the young, exciting rookie of the Timberwolves. Not a bad game at all, really, for Johnny Flynn, but for the rest of the team, nothing special. Corey Brewer, though, clearly, he's going to be the starting shooting guard for this team. And for the longest time, I saw him as a small forward. Now I guess he's shooting guard at this point in time. And how about this? 2 of 4 from three-point range for Corey Brewer. So very solid effort for the starting shooting guard of the Timberwolves. Very solid indeed. But overall, not a fun game if you're a Wolves fan. Except for the main frame of things. One other small positive, Wayne Ellington, 2 of 3 from three-point range. So that's where his 6 points came from. Other than that, the Bucks pretty much manhandled the Wolves, and it wasn't really fun. There was a lot of disappointment with that Kevin Love injury. You can't imagine the morale was all too high coming into this one. Brandon Jennings, the rookie, looking pretty darn good here with a 16.7 assist performance, 5 of 10 from the floor. Brandon Jennings is a guy I liked early last year, way back in February, a guy I was kind of keeping up with as much as I could. I mean, there's only so much you can keep up with when he plays overseas, but every little bit, I could read on him and keep up with, very impressive, and I think he has a chance to be a pretty good player in this league. Brandon Jennings and Johnny Flynn are going to be compared a little bit, because some people may have thought Jennings, like a long time ago, earlier on, could have been around that 6-pick range. Unfortunately for Jennings, he slipped a bit, and Johnny Flynn exploded upward. So that pretty encouraging there, and for both players, both of them looking pretty good at this point in time. Another solid game for Petrov, who actually, that's what I'm saying, didn't start in this game. Kind of, some people might be surprised without Kevin Love that the Wolves went with Brian Cardinal. Cardinal played okay, but he was what he is, Brian Cardinal. But Petrov, again, looking all right. 3 of 6 from the floor with 9 rebounds, 7 points, but he did get into serious foul trouble, 5 personal fouls in only about 19 and a half minutes. So, I don't exactly think that Alexei Petrov is going to be any better on defense than Kevin Love. You've probably heard my opinions about Kevin Love's defense over all of last year. Nothing right now would indicate he has improved much on defense. And, of course, we're not going to be able to see if he has or hasn't for quite a while. And then who knows how up to speed he's going to, how long it's going to take for him to get up to speed once he is, quote-unquote, healthy and ready to go again. So, it's going to be kind of tough. It's going to be tough. I mean, last year it screwed up the Wolves season when Jefferson got hurt. Maybe the Wolves could have had a 30-some win season. That doesn't mean they're great, but it also does mean they're not the worst team in the league. And, I tire of the way the media and other NBA fans continue to talk about this team in such a negative light. It just drives me insane. Even though they're not the greatest team ever, they're not the worst ever either. I just don't buy that opinion at all. So now off we go. Al Jefferson officially out at this point with that Achilles. But the talk more or less, though, is that Mr. Al Jefferson was more sick than hurt. So that's encouraging in that sense. And no, it was not the H1N1 virus, which, I don't know. My opinions of that are a little bit different than I think a lot of people in America. I'm not sold on it all the way. I'm really not. I'm beginning to think it's a tactic to scare the heck out of people and to get everybody to get flu shots and to get a Medicare bill passed without people really thinking of the long-term effects of such a thing. As good as it, even as good as it sounds. All right, there. That opinion is out there, and it's now done. Okay. Corey Brewer emerges as the leader here. And did I just say that? Yeah, Corey Brewer emerges as the leader. 7 of 17, not the greatest shooter still, but 23 points and 7 rebounds, 3 assists and 3 steals. The guy's all over the place. He even added a block. Only 3 personal fouls, so that's another encouraging thing. No foul trouble, no major foul trouble for Corey Brewer in this game in about 31 and a half minutes. 2 of 4 from three-point range from Corey Brewer. So he's really starting to look like a shooting guard here when you continue to see multiple three-pointers, and he's shooting over 40% from three-point range, man. Crazy stuff. He's really starting to emerge, and a lot of his baskets aren't from jump shots; they're more or less from slashing. But he'll make a jump shot here and there, and of course, the three-point shot, that's obviously a jump shot. You don't dunk or make a layup from the three-point line. So, Ty Lawson emerging nicely though. The guy the Timberwolves drafted with the 18th pick for the Denver Nuggets ultimately. Ty Lawson with 10.8 assists, 6 rebounds, 4 steals, and a block. Man, that's a little bit of everything, folks. Not bad at all. Ty Lawson, former North Carolina point guard. Some people out there even made the opinion, the scary, frightening opinion, that Ty Lawson, that the deal between Ty Lawson, Johnny Flynn, and Ricky Rubio, some people actually think that Ty Lawson might be the best of the three. For the Wolves' sake and for my sake, as much because I love Johnny Flynn and I've endorsed him about 1 million times, since about 2 weeks before the draft, officially made him my pick at number 6. I hope that's not the case. That would really sting. Because the Wolves did it with Randy Foye. We all remember that. So, very interesting stuff. Alexei Petrov, well, you wanted to see him as a starter, didn't you? You wanted to see what he'd do? 1 of 9 from the floor as a center. 1 of 9. And he got 5 fouls, so serious foul trouble there. Not encouraging. But what was encouraging, both Wayne Ellington and Ryan Hollins had a pretty darn good game. Hollins, though, one thing that I don't like, he played over 20 and a half minutes, only 2 rebounds. But he did get 8 points and 2 blocks, so that's very good, and shot 4 of 8 from the floor. That's encouraging. Now, Wayne Ellington in about 23 minutes, 5 of 8 from the floor, and 2 of 3 from three-point range, good for 12 points. So, not bad at all. That's the kind of game I'd like to see from Mr. Wayne Ellington. You know, average around 8 to 10 points a game, possibly off the bench. Hit some three-pointers, so pretty encouraging there. The Wolves, again, fail to shoot 40%, as they shot about 39.5%. But the Wolves also shot 39% from three-point range. So that's where things look good. This was the Denver Nuggets game. As I kind of didn't even mention that. I don't know what's wrong with me. I didn't even mention that. As I mentioned, we slid into the next game here. How rude of me. 129 to 100. Minnesota dismantled by Denver, but I'm just mentioning the few positives of this game. I apologize for that, folks. I didn't even mention which game I was reviewing. That's just how it goes when there's so many games to review. All right. You get the idea. The official schedule of this game was the 20th. The 20th of October. Tuesday, the 20th of October. I just kind of rushed into the next game and didn't even mention which game I was reviewing here. I'm sorry, guys. But, yeah. You probably could figure, though, when I mentioned Ty Lawson. So, more or less, this game was pretty much a blowout. The morale was low, but a few players had a good game. That's pretty much what I'm going to leave with this one. We're going to move right on into the Detroit game. Now, this is when the Wolves started to play significantly better, as the morale was just the Milwaukee game and the Denver game, not fun at all. So now we go to Thursday, the 22nd. We beat the we beat the Detroit Pistons in Detroit, 122 to 114. This was a really, really cool game for the Wolves. Really cool indeed. It was pretty much a competitive game the whole way. The third quarter was definitely the story of this one, though, as the Wolves outscored Detroit 32 to 21. And Johnny Flynn, after struggling a few games a little bit with these, 10.1 assist, 2 assist type games like he had in Denver, not the greatest. This one was significantly better. 18 points, 6 assists, 2 steals, and only 2 turnovers for Mr. Flynn. 5 of 8 from the floor and 8 of 12 from the line. Johnny Flynn gets to the line a lot. That is very encouraging indeed. As does Ramon Sessions, who was 7 of 10. But again, the free throw percentage with Mr. Sessions, it's been consistently bad. Whereas with Flynn, this was probably his worst free throw shooting night, but still, it's not as bad as Sessions has been overall. Because Sessions has consistently struggled. Corey Brewer, again, leading the team in scoring, like he did against the Denver Nuggets with 23. He had 21 against Detroit, 7 of 15 from the floor for the second straight game, led the team in field goal attempts. Ryan Gomes was 8 of 10 from the floor. Not bad. Damian Wilkins is averaging about 7 points a game, and she's not shooting so great. Only 2 of 7 here, but 5 rebounds, 4 assists, so he's kind of doing a little bit of the little things. That's the encouraging part. Ellington continuing to scorch the nets here, though. So this is his second game over 50% here. 4 of 6 overall, and 3 of 4 from three-point range. Good for 11 points off the bench in only 15 and a half minutes. Very cool performance by Wayne Ellington. You got just keep it up, Wayne. Keep hitting those shots. That's what we got you for. And this was Nathan Jawai. Nathan Jawai officially becomes a Timberwolf, as he was traded for a very protected 2012 second-round pick, provided that it is not in the bottom 5 of the second round. If it is not in the bottom 5 of the second round, the Wolves don't lose anything. They even get a little bit of cash for Nathan Jawai, who is from Australia, and very cool indeed. They even called him Baby Shaq, which is kind of funny. He's only 6'10", though, so it's not like he's super tall in terms of being a center, but he is pretty darn big. That's the good part. And the talk is that the Wolves were planning on getting him anyway. It had nothing to do with Al Jefferson and Kevin Love, especially Kevin Love. Jefferson and Love, of course, neither played in this game, nor did Jawai, as he officially wasn't on the Wolves at this point. I mean, he was on the team, but not available, basically. So you get the gist there. But you could argue the story of the night here. Look at this game by Alexei Petcherov. 8 of 12 from the floor. He hit both three-pointers, so a little Mehmet Okur from Alexei Petcherov here. 20 and 10, folks. 20 and 10 for Alexei Petcherov. Now, where did that come from? Not bad. And another center, as of course Petcherov started at center in this particular game. Ryan Hollins, 4 of 8 from the floor. 14.4 rebound performance. That's pretty cool. So that's a guy who has been very good. You don't really hear much about him from the Wolves coaches and stuff, as we're in such dire straits to get a backup center and get size. But Ryan Hollins is 7 foot. I know he's skinny, but he's still a true center, and he's actually had a pretty good preseason. To be honest with you, he's been pretty good the whole way. His field goal percentage has been up there, and he's been very athletic receiving those alley-oops. Very athletic indeed. Unfortunately, personal fouls. He had foul trouble has been an issue with him. That's the one thing to worry about. 4 personal fouls in 13 minutes. That's kind of been a mainstay for Mr. Ryan Hollins. But the Wolves shot the lights out on this day in Detroit. 53% from the floor, 58% from downtown. 7 of 12 from downtown for the Wolves. 122-114 victory for Minnesota in Detroit. Richard Hamilton, Rodney Stuckey leading the way for the Pistons. 21 for Hamilton, 25 for Stuckey. But he did foul out thanks to Johnny Flynn and Ramon Sessions getting to the line over and over again, frustrating Mr. Rodney Stuckey. But this Detroit team has a chance to be decent. Nothing special, though. I mean, they have some nice pieces, including Day, who will come off the bench at some point later on. Kwame Brown, well, I don't think anyone's excited about him. Maxiell is a nice athletic guy, but he's always he's a little bit out of control. As the Pistons really had foul troubles in this game, boy. Jerebko, Mr. Jerebko, the wall of Jerebko, fouled out. And Maxiell with 5 personal fouls. Richard Hamilton with 5 personal fouls. Man, you talk about foul trouble. The Wolves just had a great game. It was just a great night for the Wolves indeed. Lots of fun for Minnesota. And that leads us on to the final game of the preseason, and that was tonight, October the 23rd. Friday, of course. The Wolves defeat Toronto in South Dakota. This was in Sioux Falls, South Dakota. Very, very cool. Minnesota finishing 3-5 in the preseason. Toronto 2-6. Not a bad game for the Wolves at all. Boy, Chris Bosh had a big, big game. Some people hoping that somehow, some way, Chris Bosh will wind up on this team. But it's like, don't we have enough center power forwards already? Maybe we should go after a really good shooting guard. Some people on the Timberwolves message boards on ESPN, I'm not going to necessarily recommend those boards. I wouldn't say it's the friendliest place on earth. But some of you might be listening from there, and it's it's friendly and it's not friendly, you could say. Certain people are better than others, I guess. But certain people on there have talked about wouldn't you rather have DeMar DeRozan possibly even than Flynn, since we have Ramon Sessions. No, no, I wouldn't. Johnny Flynn to me is by far the best out of those 3. Ramon Sessions, I don't think he's a starter, folks. And DeMar DeRozan, well, he's a really good athlete, but he's not a proven player in the NBA, not even close. But he was 3 of 3 from the floor, but that's it, though. Only 3 attempts. 7.2 rebound performance. Nothing spectacular in 21.5 minutes. Chris Bosh, though, the 27-14, and then 3 blocks. But unfortunately for him, 6 turnovers. So a little bit wild out there. Definitely just a nice come-from-behind effort by the Wolves. Another really good third quarter, as it was pretty close for a while. Toronto was off to a good start, but the Wolves kind of gradually came back. and then kind of took over the game in that third quarter, 28-18 in the third. Torrey Brewer, again, a very good game. 15-point, 8-rebound effort, 3 assists, 3 steals. I mean, Brewer was everywhere. You could argue he was the MVP of the preseason for the Wolves, and I know MVP of the preseason is probably one of the lamest things you ever heard, but I don't care. he did a good job, and, you know, so did Jermaine O'Neal many years ago with the Indiana Pacers after he was a 3 points a game type of player with the Portland Trailblazers. He was out there averaging 16, 18, 20 points a game in that following preseason, and he went on to have a multi-all-star career. So, not saying that's what Corey Brewer's going to do, but I think he's going to have a pretty darn good year. I have a good feeling about Corey Brewer. He's going to actually look like a starter in the NBA for the first time in his life. Johnny Flynn with another pretty solid game. Hit big shots down the stretch. 8 of 14 overall from the floor. 16.5 assist effort, 3 steals. Both Brewer and Flynn. I mean, that's going to be a really nice defensive backcourt. And remember when I was talking about possibly a Johnny Flynn and Tyreek Evans backcourt? How it'd be a really nice defensive backcourt? Well, Brewer is a really, really proven defender. And he was through college. That was all you heard about him coming into the NBA. And he is a good defender. It was more or less this guy can't score worth a hill of beans. And he just gets out-muscled so much he can't drive to the hoop either. Well, he's starting to get through. He's starting to get through and get the job done now with these consistent double-digit, 15-ish points a game type effort here. As it's a really good thing to see. And a Johnny Flynn, Corey Brewer backcourt could be a really good thing. 6 steals for these two guys. You know, and again, I'm going to say, you know, people want to come out and say, who cares, it's preseason, but I care. I care because it's a preseason every game for this team right now. It's pre-future seasons is what it is to me. Everybody on this team is really kind of proving themselves at this point in time, including Alexei Petrov, who started at center again. 2 of 6 from the floor, 5.4 rebound effort. Nothing special, but he did get a block in there. Ryan Hollins, though, my God, he did it again. Another solid effort by Ryan Hollins. 8 of 10 from the line, by the way. The guy continues to draw attention down low because he's just so doggone athletic. And I got the good feeling about Ryan Hollins. He's a nice find. He's not going to be a star or anything, but he's going to be a valuable asset off the bench. Nice instant offense type of center off the bench. You know, might turn into like a Channing Frye or something. That's kind of what he reminds me of a little bit. Kind of an athletic guy. Kind of an athletic guy. You know, I'm not displeased with him at all. Pavlovich shot 50% at 9.7 rebound performance. 50% from the floor for him. Sessions with a solid effort, too. He was pretty big down the stretch. 10.4 rebound performance. No assists for Sessions tonight, but 5 of 9 from the floor. Of course, mostly just driving to the basket. The guy doesn't really shoot much. Ellington kind of coming back to the pack. 3 of 10 from the floor. Did not make a three-pointer. Just 6-point game for him. Nathan Jawai got his first 2 minutes as a Timberwolf and was 0 of 2 and got 2 rebounds. Okay, there's Nathan Jawai. Get those Nathan Jawai jerseys printed because they are going to sell like hotcakes, folks. And the good news about that also, as speaking of printing jerseys for centers, and a guy who Nathan Jawai was on the Toronto Raptors for a short period of time last season. How about the awesome, outstanding Rasho Nesterovic coming back to the Twin Cities, folks? God, I love him so much. He had a 6-point night, 3 of 7 from the floor. Just, I don't like him. Never have, never will. The final thing, Calderon had a solid game, 17.6 assists, 6 rebound performance. But to me, I think he's underrated in some ways and overrated in others, I guess you could say. Some people were like saying he should be an all-star and all that good stuff. It's like, whatever. No, he isn't. But the other people that might say he's complete, straight up overrated and garbage, I don't agree with them either. He's somewhere in there, in between. Hedo Turkoglu not off to a good start with the Toronto Raptors either. And he only had a 2-point effort in 13 and a half minutes. Nothing much to say about Hedo Turkoglu. He's kind of struggled in this preseason. You know, he's had an injury issue as well. Jarrett Jack makes a nice backcourt backup for this team. I like him. He had an 11-point night on 4 of 11 shooting. Definitely do like Jarrett Jack, but he will not be on the Wolves, so it doesn't really matter. As that will conclude the preseason, I realize this show's going a bit long, so I'm going to have a very, very abbreviated third segment to talk about Kevin Love and Al Jefferson. Kind of already got into it enough really earlier, but I'll be right back in 35 seconds. Here on thesportstuff.com, we're turning up the tempo on Brave the Wild. A new era has come to the state of hockey with new attitude Martin Havlet, a more open style with Coach Todd Richards, and a new philosophy in General Manager Chuck Fletcher. We're available on thesportstuff.com and on iTunes. Answer the call and get ready to brave the wild. And we are back here on Timberwolves Explosion, episode 36. A reminder for MP3 users, welcome back. And we'll keep this short here. This show went a little bit, teeny bit longer than I was hoping. There was just so many games to talk about and so much to talk about regarding this team going into the season. I just kind of went a bit far because I love this team so much. And, you know, there's always so much to talk about regarding these boys. And overall, the Kevin Love situation is a frustration. And it's definitely going to take off I think it's going to take off a few wins for this team this year. About 5, maybe. No, not 5. Probably about 2 to 4 wins possibly for this team that you might have had. Right now, I'm going with about 28 wins for this club, 25 to 28 wins. It's just been the kind of the curse of the Wolves, the whole injury thing. But with Kevin Love being out, the good news is Al Jefferson won't be. The talk was he would have played in every single game in this preseason because it was more or less the illness thing, and, you know, if needed, he would have played, but being it's the preseason, you know, you got to keep him out. And that's the good news, that Al Jefferson will be available. It's not a super serious issue with Mr. Jefferson going into the regular season with the Achilles tendon. You just hope and pray that thing, knock on wood, that Achilles tendon will stay healthy this year and nothing will go wrong, because you talk about injuries that could just be devastating. That's a 9-month type of injury, folks. 9-month to 12-month injury. ACLs are 6. So that is not good if anything were to happen to that. Knock on wood, Al Jefferson stays healthy this year. And no Achilles tendon issues, that it'll be all over. It's more or less been a tendonitis thing than being a super-duper bad deal. So thank God that's where we're at this point in time. All right, do stay tuned to Timberwolves Explosion on thesportstuff.com, iTunes, and TimberwolvesPress.com, which also I'm a part of. TimberwolvesPress.com. I write articles on there. The show is also posted on there. Episode number 37 will be up very shortly. It will be an official season preview regarding the Timberwolves and the rest of the Northwest Division. So until then, we are going to call it a show, and we'll talk to you soon. Take care.